Hi, it's me, MC of Healthy by George. I come each week to talk about issues about aging and how we can stay functional, both physically, mentally, and spiritually into our much older years. And today, what I want to talk about is how our emotions impact our health. And that sometimes these things can feel like hidden issues. So let's talk about that. And please think about subscribing. I'd love to see you here each week so you can share about how you're addressing some of these issues for yourself as you're facing getting older as well. No one gets out of the aging issue. I wish. But it is good to do something daily so that we can keep ourselves functioning well into our older years. So please subscribe. Click that like button and share. It would be wonderful. And we can discuss these issues together in a community that supports ourselves. So, emotions and our health. I've really been thinking about this issue a lot because I guess for me, it feels like they're very much a part of my well-being because I'm able to do things when my emotions are not fluctuating and I'm able to be more productive. I can focus better. And I just know that my whole demeanor is different when my emotions are not so all over the place. So, what are these things that can be hidden with our emotional life and our physical self? The first and foremost thing is stress. Believe me, stress is really our body's trigger or signal to say, hey, warning. Because when you are holding stress in your body, both physical and emotional, we really have a physical response with hormones. And to make ourselves in a stressful situation chronically makes it just really bad for our health. So anytime we're having high intense emotions of fear, anger, anxiety, and they stay in the on switch, that we're constantly challenging our body by producing more cortisol, more adrenaline, and it just basically keeps our body in an inflamed state. And for our health and well-being, especially as we're aging, our joints, our thinking, all of this is terrible when it comes to inflammation, especially as it contributes to our gut and our immune function or our blood pressure. And so these things contribute to heart disease and insulin resistance. And these things are heart disease and insulin resistance. These are major issues as we face getting older, that our body has a harder time managing some of the things, especially for women. We lose estrogen, so cholesterol becomes a big problem. Men become less physically active and have reduced testosterone, so cholesterol becomes a big problem. And we all have to face that our eating all of these highly produced foods in packages cause inflammation. And so that's our diet. So a lot of things are coming at us from multiple places. Maybe our job is stressful. Maybe our finances are stressful. Maybe our relationship is stressful. Maybe our fear of getting older is stressful. So we really need to face this issue of stress head on. And we want to keep our stress and that out of that fight or flight mode. Even when we're sitting still, we're having that kind of turned on cortisone and turned on hormones that just really puts our body. So if you're having any kind of suppressed emotions, these things can show up as, I know I had some of this. When I had a constant stress from my job, my stomach was always a problem. I must have been chewing all kinds of Rolaids and antacids, and it was just a constant issue, my stomach. Or if you have constant stress headaches, those tension headaches, they constantly show up. These are a big deal. So why is it? Sometimes we all have difficulty expressing our emotion, and this can be a strain and then can become more like physical symptoms. So when we don't really allow ourselves to feel our anger, feel our fear, feel our disappointments, our stress, and really let it out, in a safe place with either journaling or a good friend or sometimes just alone screaming in a room, or some people go and hit things. I think there was one person who would put things inside of a pillowcase and bash them with a hammer. I think that's a great thing, bashing stuff with a hammer. But these types of unexpressed emotions can increase ourselves becoming vulnerable to autonomic nervous system problems. This can be muscle tensions, it can problems with our breathing, causes us to have upset stomachs or upset bowels. It can cause us to have some problems like fibromyalgia, which is this weird symptom of pain all over, and can have us irritable bowel syndrome. So, really, we need to have ways that we allow ourselves to express our emotions so that they don't lie inside our body, that we allow ourselves to express them. I think also, too, if we have unresolved trauma, one of the biggest reasons people should seek out therapy is to resolve these issues that are traumatic, that have happened in our earlier years. And seriously, those can be all kinds of things. When I think of my history, it can be being teased as a young girl, being overweight at the age of 10 felt traumatic. And I suppressed that for many years. And it showed up in an eating disorder, which complicated my already challenged body, which had issues around weight in the first place genetically. Those are big things. And to deal with that and that type of trauma of growing up in this kind of hypervigilant place where I'm being watched every bite that I eat was not healthy. And how can I work through that? No one's really to blame, but it's how I perceived what was happening felt traumatic to me. And I'm a highly sensitive person. So if you're a highly sensitive person, things that happen to you and they're legitimate, go into therapy so that you can work through whatever those feelings are so that at least you have tools and a plan when these things show up. Because we don't want to have conditions that are like chronic fatigue syndrome or any kind of autoimmune issues that show up or PTSD, health related problems. Our body remembers trauma, period. And that's something that we best pay attention to. So if there's something about your body that's talking to you, stomach upset or weird pain that seems to show up for no reason or tension headaches, take a look at what's causing that. And maybe if there is something that you think you could get some improvement through, some therapy, some talk therapy, don't hesitate. Reach out. It's the best way to work through it. The other issue is we're less and less connected now with the recovering from 2020 and the COVID issues, and we're not as highly going out and being in large groups or celebrating or doing things as groups. There's much more isolation. So there is this sense of loneliness that everyone is feeling. I know for me, this is something I've experienced because many people have left New York. So you feel a little bit of a social and emotional disconnection. And we know that we as human beings are meant to be connected. We have something in our brain that releases a pleasure hormone called oxytocin because it helps us when we feel heard, we feel understood, we feel liked, we feel appreciated. All of those things help us when we are connected to good friends and family and social circumstances with like minded people. So it's important to develop strong social bonds because even if you do have something that happens physically, either through an illness or some such surgery, you have a support system that helps you heal faster. It's very, very important. I think also, too, the other thing that can help us with the health and emotions is allowing ourselves to have good sleep because that gives our body repair. We need to recognize, and I know this is something so important for me, and I wonder if it's important to you. Excuse me. Oh, my allergies are going to drive me crazy. Is that if we have something that's keeping us from sleeping, whether it's some kind of unresolved argument or grief or some kind of guilt or something that's still bothering you from what happened during the day or the weekend, or I'm not sure. Any of those things that kind of persist that disrupt our sleep is bad. So if you've got something that's interrupting your sleep, get into a practice of finding a way to journal and let it go, or meditate and release it into the divine energy or into whatever is your higher power. Sometimes just allow yourself to release it and recognize this can be looked at tomorrow. Tomorrow I can give this more attention, but tonight I'm releasing it and letting myself rest and repair. Because truthfully, that's going to allow us to take care of our physical self, both mentally and emotionally, if we let it go to give ourselves good sleep. So remember, my friends, our mind and our body are connected. We have a constant flow of communication going between our mind and our body. Our health and emotion are talking to each other at all times. And I think sometimes if we say this out loud to ourselves, I know I can find a way to feel better about my body, about my joints, about my physical self, and that it doesn't have to be perfect. If we tell ourselves that we understand that aging is what we all face as human beings, and there's nothing abnormal about becoming older, right? I think what I liked about Diane Keaton, who just passed, is that she embraced her aging. She never did anything to get rid of her wrinkles or her gray hair or how she appeared as an older woman. She just embraced it. And man, I think that's a powerful approach about how we can embrace who we are as we get older and do the very best we can. So remember, my friends, we have this one precious life. Let's live it intentionally. And please subscribe. I would love to see you here each week where we can share and connect about what we have to do daily to keep ourselves healthy and functional well into our older years. Take care. Bye-bye.
So thank you so much for joining me at Healthy by George. I hope you found the information inspiring and that it encourages you on your wellness journey. Because remember, your body, your well-being are a most precious gift, and every tiny action taken daily can make a huge difference. I hope the information here is educational purposes and is not meant to replace your medical care. See your doctor and talk about what works for you. If you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Your support means the world to me, and it helps me continuing creating content that inspires and empowers you to live your best life. Goodbye for now, and join me again at the next Healthy by George.